And we're back.
Welcome back to Beyond the Signs podcast.
And I think there's something new that you guys have noticed is that we actually have a guest today.
Our first guest. Welcome, Antonia.
Thank you guys for having me.
So I guess everyone's wondering, who is Antonia?
I'm an artist. I'm a singer-songwriter. I usually don't go by Antonia. I usually go by the name Sad Hippie. It started off as my Instagram handle. Once I was like, it was 2014. I was on my way to Pennsylvania. I was in a car. I was sick of my Instagram handle because it was really corny. It was like Queen something, and I hated it. And then I was like, no, who am I really? And then I just changed it to Sad Hippie. Everybody started calling me that. My manager really liked it. He thought it was marketable. And then it's all been history from there.
Let me ask you this question then, because Beyond the Signs, our main concept is that we believe that artists or people in the creative space, there was a sign for them that made them go after it. What was your sign that told you this is what I want to do?
Oh, well, I was going through a very rough time. I had a brain injury in 2013, which I had told Omar about. I fractured my temporal lobe. I lost the hearing in my right ear. I was undergoing a lot of surgeries. I was homeschooled like throughout the entire beginning of high school. Dennis knows that. So I guess I was pretty sad at the time. And I was like a hippie. It's just a life I wanted to live. I had never had a consistent job. I was kind of here. I was kind of there. So I was like, this is going to be my Instagram handle. And it's just going to work for me. And then everyone really liked it. And it just had a ring to it. And then it really just stuck. It was a sticky name.
A sticky name. That's pretty interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Then everything in my life kind of just started to revolve around like the name. So it's like I couldn't get away from it. Yeah.
Right.
So you like manifested the Sad Hippie.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's incredible. I mean, even from the first time that we met, the brief conversation that we had, I don't think I truly even scratched the surface of your story and why you have, gotten to where you are today. And that's what we're here to talk about. And I'm really excited.
We're here to get
have
deep.
You on. We're here to get
We're getting deep today.
Okay, so I would really love to ask you about your experience early on as a teenager.
Okay.
In high school.
Okay.
How that shaped your music to this day. Could you give me kind of a rundown of that process?
I think high school was a little bit of a strange experience for me because, like I said, I started off high school that freshman year, like being homeschooled because I had a brain injury. I spent, what it all comes down to is I spent a lot of time in isolation. I had to be isolated a lot when I was being homeschooled, when I was going for like neuro tests and like weird things like that other people weren't relating to. I had way too much time to myself. And then I got into a relationship while I was hospitalized. I fell in love. And then I experienced heartbreak after like a 2-year relationship. And then I think that heartbreak really made me feel kind of like lost. Like I kind of had to start again and figure out who I was again. And I think they were all very deep and like adult and like serious experiences that I was going through very, very young. And that kind of influenced my music and where I was at the time. Yeah, it just was like a very raw and like vulnerable time for me, very early. Yeah.
And how did you start to realize that you wanted to or needed to put that into your music and translate those emotions into songs instead of just letting them, take you over in other ways?
It's always been the only way that I've known how. So there was no other way, I only knew how to put what I was feeling into music. And then the moment that I had an opportunity to like step into a studio and get on a mic, it's all been history from there.
That's incredible. I mean, I think that those years when you're in high school and you're in your mid to late teens / becoming a real adult, like that's when you really start to formulate who you want to be.
Absolutely.
On your own terms. And your version of doing that was deciding, okay, I'm going to take all of this positive, negative in between, and I'm going to put it into something that I can be proud of.
Exactly.
And that at the end of the day, I can share with other people and hopefully help them in their journeys.
It's like, honestly, basically like music saved my life. Yeah.
So you told us your story. So when was the first time you've actually performed?
Oh, a long time ago. It was like 2016. It was at a studio I used to go to in Hoboken. When it started to be serious performing was like soon after the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
Like when we
interesting.
actually, like me and my team, shout out the new Mecca, when we actually started hosting events and stuff like that and actually getting on stage and having like 3-day rehearsals and like doing all that, that's when the performance was a real performance.
Mhm.
Whereas back in 2016, it was just like, okay, I'm going to get on stage, I'm going to do what I can. And then if they like it, they like it. And if they don't, then
And what venues have you actually performed in?
they've all been venues near my area. Like they've usually been like in Union City, Jersey City. Hopefully soon we're going to be doing NYC because that would be fire. And we're just going to keep branching out.
All right.
So,
And I
yeah.
know that you have an album coming out soon.
I have an EP coming out soon.
An EP. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
What's the difference between EP and album, if you don't mind me
An
asking?
EP stands for extended play. So it's usually like 5 to 6 songs. It could even be 4. An album has more songs on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And-
this one has like 6 songs on it. It's called Like Water.
Like Water.
Yeah.
What's the concept behind Like Water?
Oh man. Well, I'm a water sign. I'm a Scorpio. I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. And for anybody who understands astrology like that, I have a big 12th house stellium. So all my Scorpio placements are in my 12th house. 12th house is ruled by Pisces. I have Jupiter in Pisces. So I'm just very fluid. I'm very watery. I love water. I love the concept of water. I think that water is the most powerful element, our most powerful source. I think that it can be holy and sacred, but I also think that it can be destructive, and I think that it can drown you. And I also think it's purifying and this and that and everything. And I'm also into Vedic astrology, and in Vedic astrology, I have my ascendant in the sign of Jyeshtha, the nakshatra of Jyeshtha, which rules over Scorpio, which is ruled by water. And then it's just a bunch of things. Yeah, like
So-
water.
So that was a huge inspiring concept behind your
Yeah.
album, you would say.
Absolutely. And the
Cool.
first song on the EP is called Like Water.
So do you say that like astrology plays a lot with how you create music?
I wouldn't say how I create music, but it's just very ingrained in like my being in general.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've been studying it since I was like 13. I have the books, I have it all.
So even subconsciously, that ends up coming out in your music because
Yeah.
that's just who you are. So when you
Exactly.
create, you're creating with that as your, not backbone, but just a part of you at all times.
Yeah.
So I want to know the process of you. Like I've seen so many, like I've videotaped so many artists coming up with music, and Kiera knows it from doing a lot of other like creative stuff when it comes to singers, songwriters. But I want to know your process of how you come up with your songs.
I never force it. I never sit down and say, today I'm going to write a song. It just comes from source. It just comes to me. I could be on a bus. I could be on my way somewhere and I'll think of a melody. And then I'll put the melody in my notes. I'll do anything to remember the melody. And then let's say on another day I could be at work and then all of a sudden I'll write a lyric down. And then from that lyric, I'll write a whole song and it'll be a banger.
The voice memos go crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And my notes go wild. So in my notes, I have a folder and it's a music folder. And in there, I add everything music related. I could see a poem and I'll write a piece from the poem. And then from that poem, I'll create a whole song off the concept of the poem. Like it's just, it has to come to me. Sometimes I could go days, weeks without writing anything at all. And then I'll be for months in a completely creative space where I'm just writing.
Yeah, and that like I've been a writer for years now as well. Not even in terms of songwriting specifically, but just in general creative writing. And I can definitely agree with you and attest to the fact that it comes when you least expect it, whenever,
It just comes.
however it chooses.
Mm-hmm.
You have no control over it. You just say, okay, well, now I have a concept for a song, or now I have a concept for an album, or I have this or that,
Absolutely.
no matter where I am. And that's the beauty of this art form. And I think it's so interesting. I really want to delve into how you feel that you've evolved as an artist from when you started to today and where you are now.
How I've evolved as an artist, like creatively or like business wise, or
Either or, how would you say?
you know,
that?
it's funny because I feel like not much has changed creatively. It's still very much the same. It just comes. It comes to me. I write it. I like it. I go into the studio. I record it.
Mhm.
You know, I don't think that I mean, obviously I'm a little older now, so I'm probably singing about things that are like realer and, you know, more serious to like listeners and stuff like that. When I was younger, it was more just like I'm heartbroken, like someone left me, you know what I mean? Like now I can really delve into different things. I would say it's more business wise where I've evolved more as an
So
artist.
my question is, what's your favorite song off of the EP?
Like water.
Like Water.
Yeah.
Which is the opening track.
The
Yes.
opening track.
And can you
Amazing.
explain what is Like Water? Like, I know you dove into it a little bit, but I want to know the song behind it.
I would say when you listen to the song, the understanding you would get from it would be like breaking down barriers and being fluid like water. In the song, I say, days get harder. I just try to keep my head up high above water. That I was thinking when you left me in the dark, that time had to become water. And then it goes from there. I'm not going to give it all away. You guys crazy? Yeah.
If anything, we'll put it down below so that way you guys could listen to it too. I want to know also, like, you have like such a creative mind. Was there any other avenues in the creative process you've either dove in, like whether it be like a music video or like in particular, maybe even like dancing and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was a dancer for years. I went to JNL. I was in competitive dance. A lot of different things. I was in baton twirling for like 6 years. That was
Wait,
also
what?
very competitive. Yeah.
Baton twirling?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So you can like actually do
Oh, yeah. And I still have my batons and I could still do it. I should have
That's
brought it.
wild.
Yeah.
See,
Oh,
that
wow.
just shows that it doesn't matter what avenue that you start from. If you start in any sort of creative corner, it'll lead you to the next to get you to where you want to be. Even if it's the most obscure thing that you would not expect you to lead you to where you are. It does.
It's always been very important for me. And my mom knew this since I was really young, for me to be doing something creative. For me
Right.
to be like using my sacral energy. Like it's always been very essential for me. If I'm not doing that, I'm very depressed.
And you touched up about your mother. Can you explain like the relationship you have with your mother when it comes to your craft?
My mom is my best friend. She's always been extremely supportive of me. I don't have my dad in my life. It's always just been me and her. I have no siblings. So I go to her for everything. And she literally has these little like tapes of me from when I was 2 years old singing, and she would tell me to sing. So she's just always known that I got it.
Nice.
That's really incredible, because I know we've talked about in previous episodes the contrasting perspectives that we have between the two of us, where my parents were also really supportive, fortunately, and
That's awesome.
and Omar, in a sense, had to, not that his parents weren't supportive, but he kind of had to
I had
prove
to
himself
prove myself
to them,
to my
Right.
parents. It was never
to help them understand.
They were like, "Are you sure you can make this a career? This is
Exactly.
Oh, no, it wasn't. Are you sure? Can you make this career? It's like, don't
you
even
can't.
try.
Yeah.
Don't even try.
Oh dang!"
Yeah. It is crazy.
And look at you, you're doing it.
no,
What can
absolutely.
they say to you now?
And that's why we have this podcast, to have these type of discussions, to show people that even if you're in that type of position, whether you have parents that support you or whether you have parents that don't necessarily get it, you know,
And-
your journey is always going to lead you in the right place. And if you're meant to be a creative, then you are a creative and you're going to make it there regardless.
Absolutely.
No matter what.
Mhm.
It's like
Absolutely.
tunnel vision.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's funny because I had a conversation with my mom earlier because she dropped me off to work because I left my car there.
Mhm.
And she was like, you know what? It's funny is that the conversation we had last night, and this is what she's paraphrasing the things that we're saying. She's like, at first it was such an absurd thing that you told me, right? But then she before she went to sleep, she kept thinking and thinking. She's like, that was the smartest thing you've ever said. And it
Oh,
makes
that's so beautiful.
it makes so much sense, and I respect you so much. I didn't have a meeting to go to, but I was telling her, oh, I got a meeting, because I ended up tearing afterwards. I was like, wait, like to actually say something like that, like after like being like all my 28 years of living, like my mom's always like, she's always been the wise one between us. Now, like she's like, you're actually very wise, and I'm like surprised that you're like this.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't hold it. Like I ended up like tearing up.
You're
for,
like, I told you so, Mom.
I didn't even say that. I was like, Mom, I have a meeting to go to. I'll talk to you later. And then she kept going. I'm like, we'll talk about this later, because I couldn't keep a composure with myself. But
And it just shows how, like, when no matter what you're told and no matter what other people might think, if you just follow your intuition and you know that you're supposed to be where you are, exactly in the room that you're in, you're supposed to be doing what you're doing every single
You just
day.
opened up a whole other conversation.
Right. And that's
We-
what I find us doing all the time in this
exactly,
podcast.
on this podcast,
Yeah.
we always
Everything
come up
will
with
fall
new
into
topics
place.
right on the spot.
I've realized recently that a lot of people have a lot of fears in terms of like their life and their future. Like they don't trust themselves.
Mhm.
You know, they don't trust in their ability. Like I have a lot of people like friends and like family. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but a lot of times they'll just be like, oh, you know, like what if this doesn't work out? Like what if this career that I'm choosing doesn't work out? What if this? What if that? What if I should have done this? And I'm just like, what do you mean? Well, then if that's not what you should be doing, then you'll end up doing something that's even better. Or you'll end up in a room where you'll get the opportunity to do something that'll elevate you even more. You might realize you like this more than this. It's about having that inner knowing and that inner trust in your gut and your intuition and just moving accordingly.
There-
That's how I move.
There's a saying, and I know we were just talking about this earlier, is that because you're a spiritual person,
Yeah.
right? And you pray every night.
I
There's
do.
a saying in my own religion where it's everything's written, so live your life.
Literally.
Like everything
Literally.
everything
Mhm.
is written down. So no matter what, like the unquestionable things are gonna happen tomorrow,
Mhm.
it's gonna happen. Just
Right.
live your life.
It's like, why try to fight against it? Like, just keep moving.
Exactly.
That's it.
And the amount of people that live their life in fear or, you know, not even intentionally but subconsciously project that fear
Because of societal
onto
pressure and
people
all that
around them.
shit. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like anybody who's telling you that is trying to discourage you from doing what you love, but the pressure that society puts on you to have something that's stable and that is not going to go anywhere and that you can rely on. When you have somebody that you love that is doing the opposite, it tends to scare you in that way. And that's
Mhm.
where, you know, it becomes difficult.
Yeah, a lot of
sometimes
people
to
tell
have
me
that.
they'll be like, what's your plan B? You know, what if
Right.
that doesn't work out? But like, do you feel like it's stable enough? Like, do you have a stable foundation? I'm like, what do you mean?
See, it's actually funny because there's a statistics out there where if people start planning for plan B, that already means that plan A is
You already
failing.
gave up on plan A.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So
That's it.
why would there be a plan B
You're done.
if plan A, for me, whenever, and Kiera could attest to this, when I have a project, I'll seek it through the end.
Mhm.
And once it fails, that's when I truly jump onto a new project
Yeah.
because I believe in like holding out to the very end. Right. And with your like music career, if you believe you can like make it like out there with it, just keep going for it.
So my trick also though is, I think not everybody has this quality that like creatives have. I think sometimes you have to be almost like slightly like delusional a little bit. It's almost like I'll tell myself like, no, it has to work out. Like, how could it not work out? Like,
Mhm.
are you kidding me? And I kind of just see everything that way. Like, I'll be like, this is gonna work. This is gonna go super well. Of
I don't
course
think
it
it's
is.
being delusional.
No,
I
but
think you just got to
to
say,
me-
hey, I'm gonna make it today.
Yeah.
That's who I am gonna be today.
Right.
Be your
But I'm
own
saying,
hype woman.
I think to other people that would be like a very scary thing, and they would consider that like a little bit of a delusional thing, you know? And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so then I'm delusional then. But watch when I make it to the top, and you're gonna say, oh, that girl, like she really believed in herself. She really
Mhm.
did that.
And the most successful creatives have been deemed delusional at their start or during their journey by even people they that love them and
Yeah.
that they would expect to support them the most.
They
And
get
it's not
told they
that
can never make it. They
Right.
fail. They get told no several times before they finally make it. That's the grind. Like that's the journey. That's the whole point of it.
it's the concept
Absolutely.
of faking it till you make it.
Right.
And not even that you're faking it at any point, because if you really believe in yourself, you're gonna truly believe
Yeah,
in
you just gotta
yourself.
say true
And
in
you're
your
gonna
heart.
believe that what you're saying in your head to keep you going is really true and it's going to come to fruition.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I guess my question is, and we were talking about this earlier before getting on, is that you were talking about like your human design.
Yeah.
Do you say that that would influence as well, like the way you create music or the way you go about with your art?
I would say not yet, not the way that it influences my music, but it's a tool that I've been able to utilize to help me understand myself just as a person. You know, how I can navigate my time, how I can utilize my time. Remember how I was telling you how generators and manifesting generators, how everything that we do is basically based off of our sacral energy.
Right.
So again, it kind of comes down to that intuition. So generators and manifesting generators, we're not supposed to really, especially pure generators, we're not supposed to go based off of our minds and our logic and our thoughts. It's just about the inner knowing, the sacral response, you know? It's something as simple as, oh, do you want to eat pizza right now? It's either an immediate yes, what you feel, or an immediate no. And then that kind of goes into a lot of other things. And that has to do with your human design. That's been really cool to figure out. I would say that learning that I am a pure generator does help me understand why I've been able to be so consistent and have so much tunnel vision when it comes to my music career. Because generators have that. We have a staying power that a lot of other people do. They just don't have that. So that's been really cool to learn about.
And what you were talking about reminds me of like instant intuition.
Yeah.
Of like immediately you acknowledge like this is what I'm supposed to be doing with this knowledge and these feelings that I have inside of me. Like this is how I'm supposed to be projecting that or bringing that to a physical form.
Where do you see yourself? Like, I'm not gonna ask like in the next 5 years or so.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
No,
I really thought that's what you were going to say.
No, I wasn't going to say that. But
That's
where
me.
do
Yeah.
you see your music carrying you forward? Because like you have a goal in mind and you want to manifest it. So where do you see yourself taking you with your music career?
I see myself taking it globally. I see it taking me far. I'm in love. I'm obsessed with traveling. I love to travel. I love to meet different people. And through learning about other people and other cultures, I learn about myself. And I can't imagine like how that's going to influence my music and my emotions and what that's going to bring out of me creatively. Yeah, I mean, I think it can take me to many different places. I don't know where yet, but I know it'll get me far.
Absolutely. Have you worked with other artists? Because I've
Mhm.
seen your music and you've been featured on a couple of things. So like, how
Mhm.
is that process for you? Because you seem like very dependent on yourself.
I am very dependent on myself.
Right. So how was your experience working with other artists in the industry?
It's not the easiest thing. Everybody has a very different work ethic. I've definitely had good experiences. You know, I've walked into rooms with people who have wanted to collab and creatively it's definitely been great. We've been able to bounce off of each other very quickly. But when it comes to the work side of things, that can get difficult.
I think you learn a lot about yourself when you're put in a situation like that because it, you know, not forces you, but you're more likely to kind of bring out your perspective in the situation and how you would go about it when you're in a collaborative atmosphere. Obviously, you know, we have every day we get on this podcast and we have complete differing opinions on what we think about each topic that we talk about. And it's really interesting to see whether or not by the end of the episode we're able to come together and come to an understanding.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Or whether we
Or,
end on opposite sides of the
Like
spectrum.
respectfully disagreeing. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Respectfully.
Right.
It's always respectful here.
Right.
But do you find that mentality flows into your music collaborations as well? Do you find that there are some times where, you know, you vibe very well with a person and other times where you respectfully have different ways of
Respectfully,
going
no.
about it?
I'm very like, there's no really like a gray area for me. Like I'm very like, oh, you're dope. We vibe. We could definitely get something done. Let's do it. And if it's anything outside of that, it's just like I'm not forcing it. It's not working.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it.
So when it comes to like producing your music, I want to ask like, how do you choose your producer? Or like, have you listened to stuff that they produced before and say, oh, this is the person
Oh
who's
yeah, my ear for it is absolutely insane. It's funny you bring that up because that's a part of music for me that is very important, that I really like and that I appreciate about myself. I think my ability to listen to something and be like, this is genuinely very good. I know that people are going to like this when they hear this, or this is different. This has a quality about it that is just, you know, like if let's say I wasn't a singer-songwriter, let's say, and I still wanted to be within the music business, I would probably be like a really dope A&R. Like I would probably be the one who's bringing the artists to these record labels. I would be like, this person needs to be signed, this person needs to be put on a stage, like, because I can listen to something and just know. I can just know if it's quality. At the new Mecca, we have some awesome producers at the moment, and the guy who produced the beats for my EP for Like Water, he's actually from Sweden. I found him online. It was a really dope opportunity, and I gave him an idea. I kind of gave him some references on what I wanted the sound to be for the EP. I didn't really think he was going to hit it right on the mark. I was like, just give me something like this a little bit. I gave him details about what I was going for, and then he starts sending me like these demos, like these short, like 1 minute demos to the beats, and I'm like, wow, it's exactly what I wanted. How were you able to create that like that? So yeah, I love working with talented people. It's just amazing.
See, that's a really interesting concept to me, because one thing that I would really love to know, and that I've wondered with a lot of artists, is how did you come to being so comfortable in a studio atmosphere or working with producers, essentially strangers that you don't know in a lot of situations, and being able to express yourself in a really genuine, authentic way that you would when you were sitting at home by yourself in a room recording, just yourself? How do you put that into an atmosphere that stays the same no matter who you're around?
That's a good question. I think it's a confidence that you end up building over time through experiences that you have with other people. So like in summer of 2015, I was accepted into an urban arts partnership in Soho, New York, where I took poetry and I did a music and production foundation. So I was like learning how to make beats. I performed for Vevo. That was really cool. We got to do a bunch of things, and we got to perform at this studio. I believe it's called Blast Off Studios, and that's where like Drake recorded Take Care and Kendrick recorded a whole other album. And I was like, what? Like, it was my first time walking into a studio space, being able to use the mic, being there for 2 days straight, like for free, and being with the engineer who worked with these people. I was like, okay, now I understand what the environment is like. And I immediately I was like, oh, I could do this every day. I remember being there and I'm so comfortable here. And I would tell the engineer exactly what I wanted, the way I wanted it. And I would ask him questions, and I was obsessed with it. So I think it's always been like a little bit easy for me, I think.
Yeah. And at some point it's that innate feeling of I'm meant to be here.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be in this room, and if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here, and I'm here for a reason, and let's make stuff happen.
It's like no hesitation. And I think that's why I'm always going to want to do it. It's so comfortable for me. I just really enjoy everything about it. I love walking into a studio, even when I'm not the one who's recording, even when I'm not on the mic. I love to help other people. I love to help them maybe like vocal arrange something, or like help them with their songwriting, or tell them, well, what if you do this? This really might sound better. I love to look at what the engineer is doing, even though I don't really understand things from the engineering perspective. I'm like, wow, that looks like a lot. I love looking at it. I would love to learn more about it. I would love to be able to produce my own beats and produce for other people. I just love all of it. Yeah.
If you are really immersing yourself in every aspect of what you're doing, that is inevitably going to show in the work that you produce. And I'm so excited to hear the next body of work that you have coming out, like water.
I'm really excited to listen to it
I'm so excited for you guys to hear it.
Absolutely. And then we're gonna talk about making a music video for you soon.
Omar got me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And down the line, in 6 months to a year, when we have you back on the podcast for the second time, follow up, we'll be able to reflect on all of those experiences. And that's why I love this podcast, because this is why we do that, to connect with other artists and
so cool.
share their stories and be able to look back on everything.
Absolutely. Beyond the Signs, a podcast made by creators for creators.
Absolutely.
For creators. Is there one thing that you want to say to people out there who are watching or listening to our podcast right now?
If you are a creative, if you are in a creative field, if you're doing anything like this, do not listen to what anybody tells you. Just keep going. Just keep going. I've never cared about people telling me, oh, don't you think that you should choose this? Don't you think that you should choose this path? No, I'm doing what I want to do. I do it because I love it, and I'm always going to want to do it. I'm always going to love it, and I don't care what anybody says. And I would give that advice to any other person, because that's how you're going to make it far. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do what you love. Just do what you love. That's
Absolutely.
It.
It's about the passion of the creative process. Yeah. I have a question that we're going to start asking every single guest.
Uh-oh.
And here's my question. Are you a morning or a night person?
A night person.
So you work at night?
Always. And I've always been working nightlife. I'm a bartender. I work at a rooftop. Shout out Margaritaville in NYC. I'm always getting home 3 a.m. And before that, I was a hostess for 3 years at a steakhouse, which makes no sense because I'm a vegan, and I was always leaving late. And when I'm in the studio and when I'm with the new Mecca, when I'm with my people, it's nighttime, baby. That's when we're creating. That's when shit's getting done.
Absolutely. You heard it here, folks. She's only a night person. And with that, thank you for watching. Also, make sure to follow Antonia on her Instagram at Sad Hippie.
Sad_hippie.
Sad_hippie.
You guys have to subscribe right down here.
Yeah.
Right down there.
Like it.
Do it.
And hit the what's it called? The plus notification to know when we do actually post on Mondays and
Yes,
Thursday.
sir.
Please look out for your EP coming up soon.
And
right?
I have a music video for a song called Bad Habits, and it drops February 8th. Fingers crossed if all goes well. So go watch that because it's going to be pretty lit.
February 8th, which I'm pretty sure it's after this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's already out. So hit the link down below to watch her music video.
It was amazing chatting with you today. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I love talking to you guys.
Pleasure. And with that, thank you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
See ya.